So I want to bring in the voice of other people around the world. Okay, on this slide you would see the village of Buma in the Solomon Islands. And so, well, like I was saying, well, I want to bring in the voice of the other people around the world and what they're experiencing, what they can do about it, and what they are doing about it. So the village that you didn't see is located in the Solomon Islands, which, to orient you, is in Melanesia. It's to the northeast of Australia. And even as we sit here, life's also happening there. So that's Krista's son playing soccer. That's Donna's son jumping in the water. The way we arrived at Buma was on a private boat. It's a 30-hour sail from the provincial capital, and the only other way to get there is on a cargo ship there's only one cargo ship every 2 months. So as a result, these people are pretty much entirely on their own. There's no market economy. There are no stores. They rely almost entirely on the food they can produce and on their traditional agricultural systems and what they can catch from the surrounding sea. Those same fisheries that we're talking about that are being so heavily impacted. So let's talk about poverty for a second. There's a lot of debate on exactly what poverty means. But for our purposes, I'm going to turn to Oppenheim. And he proposed it's about rights and relationships, about how people are treated and how they regard themselves, about powerlessness, exclusion, and loss of dignity. Absolute poverty is when people fall below this level, when they cannot house, clothe, or feed themselves. House, clothe, or feed themselves. So from my experiences, these people aren't poor. But how does climate change factor in? Just to highlight a couple of impacts, increased storm surge means just ruined fruit trees and destroyed homes. Changing rains means stunted crops, meaning less food. And what about the challenges to our oceans like Mandy outlined for us? Well, all of these issues mean compromised fisheries. And for coastal peoples around the world, this means compromised income, food, and jobs. But for the traditional village of Buma, compromised fisheries mean less protein. But it's not just about protein. It comes back to this pervasive theme about systems dynamics, and it's a cascade effect. So just to give one example, compromised fisheries means less access to protein, which means that they now need money, which means they have to leave their village where they otherwise had everything they needed to go to the capital city of Honiara. But this migration can damage social networks and traditional knowledge and more. And these are exactly the factors that would otherwise help make the community resilient to challenges, including climate change. So I propose that when they stop being able to access the resources they need to live and thrive, that's when poverty comes into the equation. And that's when it becomes difficult to help themselves. And this is just one community. There are hundreds of millions of people that depend on coastal resources that live in low-income countries. So where's the path forward? We need to build resilience in communities. We need to increase their ability to adapt to these challenges, because they're not going to change, we know that. But how do they deal in the best possible way with what's happening? How are they as strong as possible in the face of what's happening? And the way that we can do that is working on the 5 capitals. So we have natural capital, supporting healthy local ecosystems. Human capital, knowledge and the physical capacity of people to do whatever needs to be done. Physical capital, infrastructure and tools. Financial capital, sustainable livelihoods for financial resources so they can buy whatever they need. And socio-political capital, social networks that serve as insurance policies, and political clout to create policies that represent their interests. So on this next slide, I'm going to share with you a new approach that we're taking, that we're using film to engage youth with climate adaptation and connect them with their elders and traditional knowledge. So this builds up human, social, and natural capital, while also reducing pressure and dependence on marine resources. So this is 60% about the process and 40% about the product, and the intended audience are the communities themselves. And this is the first time anybody's seen it. This is the trailer.
Name Bumi, Cape George. Nemblomi Jelsimere.
Nemblomi Raiden Gumi.
Esblomi, 21 years old. And me, 21 years old.
And me from Banyata.
We come from Banyata.
Banyata community.
Also, one thing I love about my village is that the way kids are playing in the evenings and also the color of the beach. That's what I love most about my village. I want to know more about the changes or the issues that happen in climate change program.
So far, the changes by happen that but strong winds, heavy rain, but will continue.
Rivers flood strong rumors.
Then pan falan garden good places for staff good law lands.
What do you mean looking this time here? Him no or same before or before him different from what you mean looking this time?
Yeah, him change because time before, ogata all man sabe dating ogata time ogata season. But before ogata season yeah, but our shooting time ogata for me must be ready. And that changes me looking before and now. Me baraba feeling long body blow me, and me looking long eye blow me.
What na? Some fala young people from fixing of that changes.
If fala or some youths, me just encouraging me fala for no can cut them down any trees or some people are looking for him useless. Yeah, because same important to myself what the trees the forest blow you me.
All keta must no over harvest. All same take him little bit no more. Take him flande.
Hemi change and hemi make him life hemi hard this time. Yeah? So advice from me now hemi for every young people traditional knowledge now hemi very very important. When we think that the young people also should understand it.
Why Chief Putum Tambulo before? Him important to us for our community look sabe. Hello. Something whereby you mean for use him and what you may keep him, you mean hold him, or you mean even go near. That one I think by him helpful to us. Time you may get less resources for survive along climate change impact.
If we use him but things why we use him today for farming. Got a white man or the game come for you, me. We look at him destroy him too much na ground bro me. So for something important too much lo me by me lagtalem no may we must use him na traditional tools by me for planting.
We all like taking the old method of planting and try for repeating this time where climate change impact.
After time, finish na ya, strong na ya.
Strong now, yeah.
But you must look good, yeah. No kind of rough and no kind of rush, but you must very respect how for doing good in future time.
We will never become a role model inside the community for me was settle good. I'm not hopeful next time for Banana.
So the first day that I was working with the youth, one of the questions is, who in your community do you know that can help us confront these issues? Who has the knowledge that we need? And Jason, who made that last comment, he said, maybe in the old times our elders knew what we needed, maybe they were smart, but the elders we have now, they don't know anything, we're on our own. And it totally broke my heart. But the second to last day, he comes up to me and he says, hey, Britt, do we have time for one more interview? I said, well, yeah, why? And he said, we need to talk to my dad because he knows everything. So the goal of these films is to repeat the process all over the world in different cultures that are experiencing the same issues. And the idea is to change this dynamic. Instead of it being the white Western world that comes in with our solutions and our paradigm, that they can understand that there's this lateral network and solidarity that they can create to also look for solutions at that level. So communities like Buma and Baniata and hundreds of millions of people are facing similar challenges and will continue to feel the effects of climate change. But armed with understanding of what we're all facing and planning for it in a way that can build up the 5 capitals, we can make their communities stronger in the face of climate change impacts, including the challenges to our ocean, and create hope for the future.